Wallow and Stats. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin and Brett Stats Norsworthy.
Good Tuesday afternoon to you on this historic date of August 11th, 2020. Dave is out. He will be back with us next Monday. Drew Barrett co-hosting with me today. I'm Brett Norsworthy and Carl Morris producing our show now until 6 o'clock, and you can be a big part of it, and we invite you to it. 360-8255. That's the First Bank phone line, and it's 67129. The First Bank text line. We want your thoughts and your feelings on this historic day. About an hour and 15 minutes ago, the Big Ten, to the shock of very few, they announced no football this fall, that they will play in the spring, and to the shock of absolutely nobody, even less than maybe have been shocked by the Big Ten, the Pac-12 about 10 minutes ago, it has been reported, they have not formally announced it like the Big Ten, but it is coming that the Pac-12 will not play football in the fall. So much for player safety, as they are now planning on playing at least 22 to 25 football games in about a 10-month span. So when you hear them talk about player safety from now on, don't believe one bit of it. Don't believe one bit of it. They're on a player safety high horse right now, driven by medical information that other leagues are not getting, like the ACC, like the Big 12, and like the SEC. But that is where we are with this. Drew, I never thought I would open a show with the news of the Big Ten, the historic Big Ten, the Big Ten that I like. I like a lot. I've never been to a game in one of those stadiums, but I've dreamed about it and watched it all my life. I'm telling you, from childhood, when Keith Jackson, with that blimp shot that would show that horseshoe for Ohio State and Michigan, and it was always a cold, gray day at that time of year at Thanksgiving, when he would say, and today, alongside the banks of the Olentangy at the horseshoe, it's Ohio State and Michigan. I loved it. I loved it then. I love it now. I like the Pac-12. I've seen a few more Pac-12 teams. I've never been to a game in one of those stadiums, to a Pac-12 game in any of those stadiums, but it is historic. That's USC, that's UCLA, that's that city rivalry. It's Oregon of late. It's a lot of it's the Bay Area team, Stanford and Cal. Yeah, I have been to a game out there.
I was about to say, you went to Cal 3 years ago.
I was just at Cal. Yeah, I was just at Cal a few years ago. I have been to a game out there and thoroughly enjoyed it. Enjoyed those people and loved when they came to Oxford last year. But Drew, I never thought I'd start a show with those two historic conferences, and they may be the early trendsetters. They also may have judgment reserved for them in history that won't be very kind, because I didn't think I would ever start a show in talking about them pulling the plug on football. But, Drew, this calendar year has brought on a lot. I never thought I'd be talking to friends of mine, doctor friends of mine, cardiologist friends of mine, about myro. Is it myro? Is that how you pronounce it? Myocarditis?
Your guess is just as good as mine. And I never thought that the term, well, did you hear what the newest epidemiologist would be a part of my daily vocabulary going into this year would ever be, but that's exactly where we sit here today in August of 2020. That's just how the year has folded out, and looks like it will continue to go that way. And just like you, I love the Big Ten. I was really, really excited to be going to Purdue this year for my one road game with the Memphis Tigers, and getting to see some of that Big Ten tradition that is so incredibly important to the landscape of college football. And I think you're exactly right. I think we kind of expected this out of the Pac-12, just due to the fact ever since the possibility, quote-unquote possibility, of a cancellation of college football was even slightly discussed, that it seemed that of all the Power Five, the Pac-12 was definitely going to be the first domino to fall. And, of course, what the Big Ten does, the Pac-12 always seems to follow with that big connection they have.
Yeah, because they're the puppy dog.
Yeah, through the Rose Bowl. So you knew earlier going into the day.
Roll over, scratch our belly. They will.
I still thought it was probably a 50-50 shot with the Big Ten, probably leaning a little bit more towards cancellation if I had to go one way or the other. But from the minute I woke up this morning, I knew the Pac-12 announcement was coming. There's no way that they were going to play. And every sign and every report that I've seen in the last month or two has kind of led us to that and to the decision that they made.
And a said cardiologist friend of mine is now texting me after we have that long conversation about it, and then you mispronounce it. It is myocarditis. I had an R in there. I had myro in there when it's myo, M-Y-O carditis instead of M-Y-R-O carditis. So I did blow it. Never thought I'd say myro or myocarditis on a sports radio show, or really for that matter in my life. But things do change, and they do change rapidly. We had a lot of information Friday about, we talked about it yesterday. I'm not trying to go back now and say we were right. We didn't go with it on there because we had it from one really good source about the Pac-12, but we really couldn't confirm from another one enough to substantiate, corroborate it. And then the weekend hit, and it was no surprise. And everybody and their cousin had it. So that's fine. But the Pac-12 is not going to play, and the Big Ten is not going to play. And now we will see from the Big Ten and the Pac-12 if it'll be the Great American Land Rush on their rosters by the three. It's more than just three, but the three Power Five that still say they are going to play, that being the ACC, Big 12, and SEC, but other conferences. The Tigers, Mike Oresco, very, very firm in his comments about play on. Dr. Rudd, Laird Veach, Ryan Silverfield, all that way. There could be a lot of players looking for a place to play in a more traditional college football season instead of trying to jam that 2 years into one calendar year like they're talking about next year. Never believe the player safety garbage again from them. And the player safety is not garbage. It is legitimate. Don't believe it when they say it if you're talking playing 20 to 24 football games in one calendar year. At 3:30 we will talk with Gabe Kuhn. We will ask Gabe about the prospects of playing that many football games in one calendar year. The prospects of you name your Big Ten city. Pac-12 not as much, but name your Big Ten city, and on February 5th for reporting day, how much fun is that going to be?
Can't be fun at all. I mean, in some of those places it'll be 10
Columbus,
degrees.
Bloomington, State College, PA. Find me Iowa City, Iowa. Find me one. Now they could say, yeah, but we start the August season in oppressive heat. Yeah, and that's what we have done historically in college football for 150 years. That's when it, by and large, starts. It is never started with practice reporting on February 5th. That doesn't sound like that would be a lot of fun whatsoever. There's not going to be any spring football. That's just the can kicking for now before more studies and more epidemiology reports and more myocarditis reports or whatever you need reports. It's not going to happen. And just 1 week ago, less than 1 week ago, Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, was saying, and he has a son that plays football at Mississippi State. He was saying the plan that they rolled out last week, when asked, would you be comfortable with your son playing in this? He said that he would. He rolled out a schedule last week. Now, on scheduling, Drew, the SEC can posture all they want about, we're still going to play. We're still going to play. I need to see from the SEC a release in the next day or two of a schedule and times and dates and networks for me to really believe that, or I think it's a little bit of a bait and switch.
Yeah, I think you said it right, especially when you're talking about spring football. It is just kicking the can down the road and trying to delay this, because in the spring, unless you want, and I think the only realistic way to play 2 seasons in is we would have to start not reporting to practice, but I think we'd have to start playing at February. You probably have to shorten it down to 8 games. That might even be the most to try to get it over. And if everybody moved to the spring and you had some form of a playoff system, get everything over and done as quick as possible by the middle of April. And that's the only way that a full-on season next fall, I think, could even possibly work out with that many games in that short of a time. But when it comes to SEC, the Big 12 right now, still haven't heard an official word about them. But with the SEC, and Greg Sankey just keeps worrying me, coming out this morning saying that they've been given the green light by medical officials, but didn't really make me feel all that comfortable in his comments that they were going to play. Just said that we've been given the green light. We're taking it one day at a time. We're moving slow to make sure everything's possible. Well, I kind of need to know if I'm going to be able to at 2:30 on a Saturday, going to be able to turn on CBS and see SEC football. I need to know that it's something is going to be there.
One slight addendum to my release the schedule. What if now you're planning for Nebraska, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, and maybe some from the Pac-12? I wouldn't think many, but maybe some. What if one or two said, "Yeah, we're going that way. We're going to play." If there's that going on, then fine. Also, a lot going on with the NBA today and with the Memphis Grizzlies today. We'll talk a lot of college football with Gabe Kuhn. We'll talk a lot of college football with Brent Beard. At 4:30, we'll talk the NBA with Ron Tillery. And here is how it stacks up for the Grizzlies today. If they win, it clinches the play-in. If they lose and there's losses by Phoenix and San Antonio, let me make sure I get this right. Memphis, they're in clinches play-in with a win or losses by Phoenix and San Antonio. So it would take both of them to lose tonight, and the Grizzlies could lose and still back into that play-in scenario. Mm-hmm. They're going to be, at minimum, if they win, in the 8 or 9, right?
Yes, that is how I've determined or looked at it to be that if they win either one of the two, I believe they're guaranteed at least the 9.
So a lot for the Grizzlies going on at 4 o'clock. We'll keep up with it. We'll keep you refreshed on your scores, and we'll talk about it with Ron Tiller. We'll talk about the NFL at 5 o'clock with Bo Marchant from collegetopro.com. We visit with Bo every Tuesday afternoon, and there will be this. The NFL is going to move in and play on some of those Saturdays.
They will, for sure. I mean,
their network partners are going to need them to. Mm-hmm. ESPN and Fox and NBC and CBS are going to say we need a little relief. We need a game or two on a couple Saturdays. And once they get in, we already see we have seen what they've done to the colleges, kind of having that Thursday night game. The NFL's already taken that over. Mm. And we know nobody dares to take them on Sunday or Monday night. Nobody would do that in season. But they will jump to Saturday afternoon, Drew, and I think after a while, maybe if we don't have college football even next year, they'll own Saturday.
Yeah, they will. I mean, they're just that big of a powerhouse. And when you're talking about professionals, and the reason why the NFL, I don't think, really cares what college football is doing, just due to the fact that a lot less teams play in the NFL than they do in FBS
they
football. It's just not as many people, and they have the money and the resources to make it work like all the other professional leagues in America definitely have. And NFL is if they can play and put a good product on the field and not have too many player opt-outs, even I know we've already passed the deadline, but I still think that eventually there's going to be more players that will either opt out or opt back in. If they can still put on the same great product that they have, that they're known for, then they're just going to take over the entire fall. And college football is going to take a really big hit.
Yeah, it will. I do not know. So this is just a question by me. It's not even speculation. I would like to know what was the last day for enrolled students at most, if not all, at the Big Ten schools and at the Pac-12 schools for you to get a reimbursement as a student before this announcement about no football. I would love to know that just as the proprietary aspect of it. Drew, every day we are proudly in our Family Leisure Studios.
Yes, that's right. We are here in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Save now on your 2021 swimming pools. Buy now at 2020 prices and say your spot for first installment of 2021. Patio furniture 20 to 30% off. Play gyms, they are in stock. Beat the heat with an indoor game table or slate pool table. Pool toys and floats are up to 30%. That's Family Leisure, 2120 Winton Road, just north of I-40.
And we already have a winner today, as Texture lets us know. San Antonio's already won today. And I love the text. I think Justin Fields would look great in Tiger blue. Well, the Tigers are pretty set at quarterback.
I think we're pretty good.
And Justin Fields would only be a one-year guy if he did return to college football, because he's going to be very, very quickly taken up in the NFL draft come springtime. No, I don't know that the NFL should care about college football. I mean, even the window dressing, platitudes about it that they all were kind of saying it. And I know a lot of NFL scouts, and I see them out on Saturdays scouting college football, and they love it. It's fun for them to get out. A lot of them are regional scouts, so it's not a real new. But even when it gets into the higher end of the brass in NFL offices, it's great to them to get back on college campuses. But I don't know that they need to be a big supporter of it. They've had one of the great minor league systems of all time with it, but I don't know that they should care about it.
No, I don't think they do, and I don't think that anybody should expect them to care about it. As if we play in the spring, should expect the NFL to accommodate college football and move back its draft or its combine or anything else, because they're a business. They're going on full head of steam, straight forward. And if your league wants to move around, that's your business, but don't expect us to change around you. And if you're college football and you're seriously still thinking that a spring season can work, don't be surprised when a lot of those Big Ten and Pac-12 guys don't show up for camp February 5th when they're supposed to report, if that's the date. Just saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm going on to the draft. I'm getting ready for the combine and get ready to see where the draft and takes me.
This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis, offering the golden opportunity August sales event. Great offers on the 2020 models, 2021 starting to ever so slowly roll in, and always special lease option. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in one of their beautiful Lexus cars as well. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. The only Lexus dealership in Memphis is at 2600 Ridgeway. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
My top story of the day for the second day in a row, it's the news and discussion revolving around college football. Things we do know today that we didn't 100% know yesterday is that the Big Ten, Pac-12 have postponed their football seasons in the fall of 2020 and will attempt to play in the spring. UMass has now canceled their season. ACC says they are playing regardless. Greg Sankey and the SEC have been given the green light by medical officials to play, and I'm sure all that will change by this time tomorrow.
I'm sure it will, too. My top story right along those lines. This crazy week continues. This crazy year continues with sketchy reporting, but also some very good reporting. Some bad news on the virus, but also some good news on the virus. And the upheaval around college football and really around sports. Never has a season been so precarious for college football. The idea of starting a show with the Big Ten and the Pac-12 shutting it down, I never, ever dreamed that was even a possibility.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day, suspensions from Sunday's brawl between the A's and Astros have been handed out. A's center fielder Raymond Laureano got 6 games, and Astros pitching coach Alex Cintron got 20. In a normal 162-game season, those suspensions equal to 16 games for Romano and 54 games for Cintron. And the reason why this is my not top story, I think Cintron got off easy. I know that that's the equivalent of a third of the season here, but there's no need for a coach, someone who is in charge, out there to be making comments like that to a player of an opposing team. And you know what? And beyond that, there's no reason for Dusty Baker, the Astros manager, to try to defend him, saying that, well, sometimes
no way.
I've had. He said I've had to chirp at players in my day. You know, sometimes you just got to put them in check.
Dusty.
No, you're a coach. You don't engage in that kind of stuff. And I think
you're the adult.
Exactly. You are the adult in this situation.
I mean, the real adult.
Exactly.
Over the children
You're
of baseball,
charge.
over the tools of baseball. And now, you're right, Drew, and now with no fans in the stands, you could clearly hear every single word. And Dusty, for the millionth time, I know I've said this, lose the sweatbands and lose the toothpick. My not top story, I love that in this pandemic, we've really seen the battle of states' rights, the battle of federalism, the battle of local control. I love that any mandate from Washington can be bucked by a governor, and while any mandate by a governor by a state house can be bucked by a local mayor, and any local mayor mandate can be bucked by a local health official that a lot of us had never heard of before all this. But by golly, don't let Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State try bucking the Big Ten. And then you're going too far. And I'm quoting almost directly this morning, watching Morning Talk TV, Mike Greenberg just smashed Scott Frost. And he said, who is Scott Frost? Who is Nebraska? Scott Frost has been in the Big Ten, 15 minutes? And he's talking about leaving the Big Ten? Well, Greeny, you don't mind when everybody else spout liberating terms and they want to shout and scream, but you let Scott Frost in Nebraska even insinuate that they might leave, and Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and maybe others follow them. Iowa, I think, is very close to wanting to maybe join up with somebody and do the same thing. Then that's not allowed. You can't do that. Only we can shout and scream liberating things, but nobody else can. I hope Scott Frost in Nebraska, I hope they push it, and I know the rightful place for them to land.
Back where
home.
they belong.
Back home where – and even if they had to admit, you know what, we chase the money, we chase the glamour. Drew, how many times since you've known me have I said during college football season to that long die-hard, and they travel better than any fans? You could say and argue pretty affirmatively the best fans in college football are the Nebraska Cornhuskers fans.
I believe it. They are. 100%.
And how many times have you heard me say that longtime fan, and you name the Big Ten city, sitting in Bloomington, sitting in West Lafayette, sitting in State College, sitting in Columbus going, what are we doing here? Where are our friends? Where are our natural rivalries? Where's the trips that we used to make? What did we do to ourselves? Nebraska, admit it. A confession's good for the soul. We made a bad decision. We're ready to come home.
I think they should definitely go back to the Big 12. That's where they belong. It's the rivalries that they have, and that fan base. They could be 12-0 or 0-12, and they're still selling out that gigantic stadium in Lincoln. If there isn't a more passionate and committed fan base in the country than Nebraska, I don't believe it.
Even more than when Georgia went to South Bend just a few years ago, there was nothing better than that game. Even before that, a few years, 10 years back, whenever it was, when Nebraska went to South Bend and they showed the blimp shot. It was 2/3 red.
Yeah.
I mean, now that for a lot of people, that's the one. And if I'm going to my last college football game, let's go to South Bend to go see that history and that tradition. I would very much be like that. I didn't in '85 when Ole Miss went. I wanted to, but I didn't go up for it. A lot of people did. A big crew from Memphis went old school. They took the train to Chicago and then over to South Bend. I didn't. But and I had a lot of Arkansas friends going to go this year, so I know that's one of the hooks for all those people. But Nebraska would do that if they played at Slippery Rock. They would take over a stadium.
Yeah, they would. It doesn't matter where they're playing. They're going to follow and travel. And I think it's only right by their fans to get them back to where they want to be. I don't think there's a majority of fans in there that enjoy going to the Big Ten games year in and year out. They want to go back to Norman. They want to go back to Austin. And
if the Big 12 won't take you, call Birmingham. Nebraska in the SEC West would be Jim Dandy by me. We will continue this dialogue on college football with Brent Beard at 4 o'clock. But up next, Tiger great Gabe Kuhn talking Tiger football.